Hello again from my front porch. Yesterday was Father's Day, and I had a whole bunch of ideas about things that I wanted to try to film for Father's Day yesterday. Pictures that I was going to take, all kinds of stuff. I was going to try to do a hello from my front porch again for my parents, talking to my dad about maybe some family genealogy things. He has a workshop across the alley. I was going to maybe do a hello for my dad's workshop kind of thing. All different kinds of stuff that I had in mind that I was going to try to do. Even something with Alex last night on his back deck where he lives here in Des Moines. Thought about doing maybe something from there. Hello from Alex's back deck. And in the end, I decided not to do any of them. Why? Because I decided to live in the moment. Seriously, I decided, instead of always taking pictures of everything and instead of always doing video of things, just enjoy the moment. Now, the great thing about the pictures and about the video is you immortalize. You make that memory tangible, and you can relive that memory, excuse me, over and over and over and over. But I can still do that in my head. I can remember that kind of stuff. I really can. And so that's what I opted to do this weekend, to just enjoy the weekend. But now, having said that, I want to do a little recap of Father's Day so that I can tell you some of the things that happened, so that I still can capture and immortalize some of those things. So anyway, I went to Carroll to go visit my dad, and had a good time visiting with the family and hanging out with their furry kids they have at home, and so that was a lot of fun. But I told them that I'd be there for lunch, and as it turned out, I got out of town a little bit later than I intended to, and I didn't get there till about 12:30. But when I got there, my dad was still wearing what he had worn to bed, some swim trunk-like things and an old T-shirt and some old socks and stuff. And his hair was all tousled, and he was clearly unshaven, like for a few days. He had been really living the slow life. But it was Father's Day, so okay, whatever. And I was willing to let him go out like that if he wanted to, but he insisted he wanted to go clean up and freshen up, and then boy, he cleaned up well. I will say he did a good job. But still, it was kind of fun to show up and mom and dad just sitting there in their living room. My mom dressed for church because she'd been to church, and my dad looking like that. It's like, yep. These are my parents. They couldn't be any more different in many ways. But love them both for who they are. Again, as I've told you before, if you like me, that all comes from them in one way or another. So anyway, so we went out to eat and we had a good lunch. We while we were at lunch, though, actually it was before lunch. He told me the part of the story on the phone, but we talked about it again while we were at lunch. They've had some issue with some break-ins in the area there. My dad parks his truck out in back of their house, and now he doesn't. I think he didn't lock the passenger side door. I think was the problem. One of the doors of the truck wasn't locked in this case, so it wasn't really a breaking in. But somebody had gotten into his truck and had rummaged in the glove compartment, pulled stuff out. He had left his wallet laying in the seat, and it was laying there open and face down. The reason it was still there and not taken was because apparently the only thing he had in that particular wallet were clipped coupons for restaurants. Apparently, whoever broke into his truck didn't find any value in those things. I just love that my dad has a whole wallet full of these coupons. Anyway, apparently this is not the first break-in or thing like that that's been happening in the area. And so my dad has this little workshop across the alley that has a walk-in door and 3 garage doors, and he's got his various projects and stuff in there. He's got tools and equipment. And so one of those garage doors, though, while it was stiff and sticky, it wouldn't lock because he didn't have a key for the lock. So we tracked down the company to see if we could get a new key made, and no, nobody will make a key unless you have a blank, because they don't know it's your lock. You could be, somebody else's house saying, "Yeah, I got this code number. Can I get a key for this?" So no, they couldn't make it. So at lunch, my dad's talking about this, and he says he'd really like to be able to lock that place down. Apparently, Ace Hardware was still open on Sunday, and so we decided to head on out to Ace Hardware. We got him a new lock, and then I helped him get that installed. It was definitely a 2-person job, but as frustrating as it might have been, my dad got to use things like a sledgehammer, as literally as part of putting this thing in. Anytime he gets to use a sledgehammer or a grinder or cut stuff, that makes him feel so much better. So sledgehammer was involved. He's a happy guy. And so we got it installed and it worked, and now he feels much better that his entire facility over there is locked and safe. And so that was good. That was my present to, well, I bought them lunch, but aside from that, my Father's Day present to him was helping him make sure he got his shed all locked up. And so that'll be really a gift that keeps on giving, because it'll be locked all day. Anyway, while I was there, Ashley called me from Florida and wished me happy Father's Day, which I was very appreciative of. I always liked hearing that. I also wish Josh happy Father's Day. Don't get ahead of me. They consider their two puppies their fur babies. And so since they have fur babies, I wished him happy Father's Day for his fur babies. That's the only babies. Don't get ahead of yourselves. And then also I told him to make sure to wish Rick happy birthday, Josh's dad, or not happy birthday, happy Father's Day, because I really, honestly, genuinely am so very happy that Ashley married into a family where her spouse's parents are so amazing and so incredible, and they live right there, like literally just like 10 minutes away from Ashley and Josh where they live. And so it is so comforting to me to know that while my daughter is that far away, all the way down in Florida, and I'm up here in Iowa, that she literally has parents right there, just 10 minutes away, who can help look out for her too. I think that's a great thing. And Rick and Charlene are amazing, fantastic people. Rick, he's a wonderful dad. He's raised wonderful boys that he's invested in, and I've seen how he interacts with Josh. I've seen how he interacts with Ashley. I've just seen how he interacts with people in general. I know he interacts with me. Us two dads, we get along well because we're dads. But still, he's a great guy, and so I wished him a happy Father's Day too. But anyway, I digress. So Ashley and we had a great conversation. We got all caught up on life stuff and work stuff and all those kind of things. But then the real cherry on the sundae came when I ultimately came back to Des Moines. I did stop out. I should say I stopped out and saw Victoria as well. It was Father's Day. I stopped to see my middle daughter, Victoria, at the cemetery there in Carroll. But now I got back to Des Moines, and Alex had texted me and said that he didn't work last night and we'd be able to get together if I wanted to. Well, of course I want to. It's Father's Day. Of course I want to see my son. So we got together, and I suggested we go see a movie. So we went to see the new Pirates of the Caribbean movie. I'd already seen it once. He hadn't seen it yet. But we decided to go to Flick's Brew House here in Des Moines, which is one of those theaters that has the full menu of food and beverages and stuff that you can get while watching the movie. Awesome. I love that place. My favorite place to go see movies now. You get reserved seats and real food. That's awesome. Anyway, so we went to see the movie, and Alex paid for the whole thing. He paid for he bought the tickets. He paid for all the refreshments that we had at the movie. He paid for the whole thing. It turned out to be rather expensive for him, especially because about 15, 20 minutes into the movie, he fell asleep, dead asleep. He had been working all day. He's been working big, long shifts a lot lately. And then, he stays up late with his friends and partying and hanging out, doing some, having a good time with them. And then gets up the next day and does it all over again. No big deal. But then you sit in a dark theater in nice leather comfy chairs that kind of recline a little bit. And he was gone. And he kept leaning forward, and I kept pushing him back up with my elbow, because he was about to fall over on this lady sitting next to him. And I kept pushing him back. He didn't snore, didn't drool as near as I could tell either, but I could not wake him up. Finally, towards because I've seen the movie, and so I knew the big climactic ending came up, and so I then really nudged him good and shook him a bit and leaned over and said, "Hey, time to wake up, movie's about done." And he opened his eyes, and he looked at me, and he heard me, and he kind of smiled like he thought I was joking about it being the end of the movie. And he sat there, and he kind of blinked his eyes a bit, and he opened them, and he's focusing in, seeing the screen, and the credits started rolling. And he looked at me with surprise, and he said, "You weren't kidding. It's the..." I missed the whole thing. Yeah, you did. So he hadn't seen it yet. He paid for the whole thing. And he slept through it. He said it was the most expensive nap he's ever taken. So I felt bad for him. I mean, clearly he needed the rest. And I felt bad that I suggested a movie. I should have said something like bowling or something that was more active. But still, he was laughing about it afterwards too. And he kept saying, as long as I had a good time, that's what it was about. It was the Father's Day. It was about me. And I appreciated that. And I appreciated him, paying for stuff. That was very nice of him. I liked it a lot. But yeah, the amusement of him having his most expensive nap ever. That's a memory that's going to stick with me for a while. Okay, well, that's a great way to kick off a Monday with laughter and with jovialness. And I love my kids. I love all of them. They're each different, and that's okay. I love them for their similarities. I love them for their differences. I love them just because they're my kids, no matter what they do. And any real parent would say the same thing. If you can't say that you would love your kids no matter what they do, then I question how much of a parent you really are. Now, it's not to say you approve of everything they do. That's a whole different topic. But if you love you, but you should love them no matter what. Sometimes that means tough love. Sometimes it means warm, cuddly love. Sometimes you do things because you love them. You want to steer them on the right track, whichever direction that needs to be. But you love them. That's the bottom line. No matter what, you love them. And so I do. I love my kids without question, without doubt. I love them very much. And I'm very, very proud to be their dad. And that's what Father's Day really means for me. It's not a day for me to celebrate me. It's a day for me to celebrate how fortunate I am to have such amazing kids like them. So with that, I'll see you next time from my front porch.